It's Seconds Out, Ayman Khan here with boxers Ben Shalom. Ben, we just witnessed the press conference. Adam Azim looking to scintillate as he's done so in the past. How are you feeling for this one?
Really excited, but obviously always nervous with Adam Azim. He's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders as a young man headlining shows, but we have no choice. He gives us no choice. He wants to be considered right at the top of the sport. One of the youngest champions of all time. That's his aim. He looks at Gervonta Davis and the Ryan Garcias and the Devin Haney's and sees how they're talked about at 21, 22, 23 years old, 24 years old, and needs and won't accept anything less for him. And so the journey starts. And Santos Reyes, 12-0, WBA Latin champion, defended that title as well. It's the best we can get in the trajectory that we want to go in. We want to fight for a European title in September. We need the toughest fights we can possibly get. We offered many British fighters a chance, 3 times, 4 times what they've been paid before. But we understand Adam Azim is 7-0 and he's devastating, and so it's not a fight many people will want. But luckily his ambition is world titles, not just British titles, and that's the focus.
I feel Reyes will pose a challenge to Azim in the ring on Saturday, and is it kind of been difficult to get that challenge in from as Azim progresses?
Look, Santos Reyes is coming to win because this is his lottery ticket, and he's not overawed by the Adam Azim train that, young fighter of the year last year and wanting to be fighter of the year this year. We just want opponents that aren't beaten before they get in the ring, that are experienced, that have shown durability, that are well ranked, that are going to give Adam something new to think about and something to work on. And we think Santos Reyes will provide that. But it's obviously not easy, but I think as he gets towards world level or European level, it will get a little easier. And then he'll be fighting in some major fights.
Caroline Dubois, someone you said that can be the face of the women's division. You've put a lot of stock behind her there. Needs a good start to the year though.
Had an unbelievable year last year. Will have an amazing year this year. To have those two, for me, she's the Adam Azim of the women's division, and they're both training together. They're almost in a race with each other. Who can get to world titles first? Caroline wants to be there by the end of the year, which is incredible to hear, given she debuted last February in Cardiff and was nervous and wasn't sure. Now we're in a totally different headspace. She's grown. Athletically, she's still developing, and physically, and special talent, special ambassador for the sport. And for me, she's going to do things that have never been done before in this country.
Zach Chelli versus Anthony Sims Jr. Very intriguing fight there, Ben. How did that one come about?
Anthony Sims Jr., I remember when he signed with Matchroom, and I always just thought he had everything, talent, how he looks, how he talks, and it never quite happened. And he's been on to me for an opportunity. He wanted one in the middleweight division. This is the super middleweight, and it's against a fighter that's going to give him so much to think about. It's going to be at him from the start, only knows one way. And Zach Chelli fights Anthony Sims Jr. having accepted the Lerone Richards fight last time. It just shows that he will fight anyone, and he's a credit to the sport. And I think fans should really get behind Zach Chelli, because it's not often you see fighters that are just willing to fight anyone at any time. I could tell him he's fighting Mike Tyson next week, and he would do it. And it's going to be a great fight. And he'll want to show that he can compete at that level. Sims Jr. will obviously want to show his levels above. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be intriguing.
March 25th, you announced your new shows. Talk us through the fights on the card.
Lawrence and Coley finally headlines against David Light, who David Light's a tough customer, because we were going to put him in with, when we were looking at who Lawrence's mandatory was going to be, we thought it would be Brandon Glanton, because we were convinced he was going to that he was going to beat David Light. We'd seen a lot about him, and he didn't, and so that shows that David Light is someone to really think about. And when you've got a new trainer in Sugar Hill, which Lawrence does now, he's going to really have to be on. There's going to be a lot of interest, a lot of pressure as to what has happened to him in the past few months. And so, big night for Lawrence and Coley, big fight for him, and will want to make a statement. Dan Aziz probably on that card in his European title fight, who's now WBA number 2, taking him from southern area and British titles all the way up to WBA number 2 now, fights for a European title. Jack Catterall, homecoming, in many eyes the unified world champion at 140, and he gets his opportunity to get out after an awful sort of unfortunate thing that happened with the Taylor Cattrall announcement. Carrie Artingstall from Macclesfield gets her run out. Massive year for Carrie's coming up. Fraser Clark in his big step up that everyone asked for. Riddell Booker. It's a big card for us, and as I say, delighted that Lawrence gets a headline.
Do you look at maybe matching Lawrence and Richard Rackpour next, if that can be made, or would you prefer as a promotional outfit to see Lawrence move over to heavyweight?
They both want 2 or 3 more fights. Lawrence wants to unify, Richard wants to win world titles. They're gonna meet. I want there to be more than one world title on the line when they do, but I'm still confident that can happen this year. They both think they're going to do serious damage at heavyweight, which I'm very, very excited about. But they've both got massive futures. This year for both of them is huge. 2-3 big fights in the cruiserweight division. Then they'll be up to heavyweight, but we will see them fight each other before they do.
What sort of fight will Jack Cattrall be in?
I hope the best possible. Now, obviously, there's still hope between Josh and Jack that they're going to fight each other, and that could come in May, June, who knows. But I'm not a big believer in waiting for fights that aren't there. I'd like to get on with it. We'll decide in next week. We've not had long. I'm delighted that he's on the show. But get on with your career. Go and prove it again. Go and fight for world titles again. You're still very, very highly regarded. You're still very well thought of. You've got a great fan base. You're unbeaten in many people's eyes. You're the people's hero now after what happened. Get on with your career. Get in some big fights, and we'll see whether we can.
On Lawrence Coley, much has been documented about the split with Matchroom and kind of where he stood contractually. Has that been sorted now for this fight to go ahead, or is that still in the balance? I
think there's discussions between Lawrence and Matchroom at the moment. Obviously, this was a mandatory fight, and we managed to do a deal with both sides. And look, I've said what I've said so many times on Lawrence. His lawyers have completely indemnified the fact that they're out of contract. Completely communicated that, and we just are delighted to have him in a world title fight on Sky in March, and I hope and believe that everything will be sorted out amicably between Matchroom and Lawrence.
And moving on, the Eubank Jr versus Liam Smith pay-per-view buys. Have you got a number for us?
It did very well, and I don't know whether I can say or not, but it did very well. Began with a 2. And very, very high. So for that to do it on the hardest weekend in January, in a fight that many people didn't think was pay-per-view, unbelievable performance, great promotion, exceeded all expectations, was a massive fight in the end. And then Liam Smith to perform how he did, it was a great way to start the year. And it shows that if you do get the right fights, I think for pay-per-view, if you can get a 50-50 fight, with 2 fights, putting it all on the line at the right time that they're interested in. For me, that's what makes a great box office event. And unfortunately, those big fights, as I've said before, happen on pay-per-view.
Push it, was it above 250?
I know I'll get in trouble for saying it, but it did very, very well.
Okay. Just sticking on Eubank Jr., if he doesn't take the rematch, is he still with Sky? I know he's with Wasserman, but is he on the Sky platform, or does he move away?
That'll be a question for Wasserman right now. And Chris, I think most fighters would love to be on the platform on Sky and those big box office nights and the big Sky Sports nights. I still think he's got a lot to offer. I hope he comes back, and I hope he comes back well, because he's a good guy and he had been through an awful lot ahead of that fight. 6 months of a lot of stuff going on, or at least 18 months, sorry. So, yeah, I hope Chris comes back and comes back well. I hope he doesn't get crucified because he's been stopped for the first time in his career against a world-class fighter. He'll know he made a series of mistakes in the lead-up. He'll know that he didn't approach it right, perhaps. He'll know that he didn't feel right, because that wasn't the Chris Eubank Jr. many people have seen. But take nothing away from Liam Smith. He's world level, world class, and there's no shame in losing to Liam Smith.
Keeping your fighter on the other side of the equation, Liam Smith, Gennady Golovkin is one of the fighters that he wants and you're targeting. He's now relinquished his IBF middleweight title. Sorry, does that make it more viable now? Liam Smith versus Gennady Golovkin versus Liam Smith.
Yeah, I think Gennady just wants the biggest fights possible and wants to. It's legacy fights. I know he wants to fight in Kazakhstan.
Would Liam go over?
Would Liam go over? That would be a question for Liam. He probably would, knowing Liam. He went to Russia, didn't he, for Kurbanov, and not great circumstances, because in many people's eyes he won that fight. But look, Liam Smith is going to have a monster fight next. We have to wait for the next week or so to know whether it's going to be Eubank Jr., upon which we can move forward with other plans.
Something that's taken the eye of boxing fans is the recent price hike from DAZN for their boxing. I believe that they've announced an NFL deal with it. That's one of your competitors, but your finger is on the pulse in terms of the public's reaction. What do you make of that price hike for boxing fans?
The price, I'm a promoter, and most promoters just want as many people to see their fights as possible. And so, just as I don't comment on Sky pricing, I don't comment on DAZN pricing. It's absolutely nothing to do with me. What I would say as a boxing fan, there's fights on there that I'm looking forward to, and I'm looking forward to seeing Anthony Joshua return. I'm looking forward to the Cordina world title. I'm looking forward to Taylor Serrano. So that's for, as a boxing fan. But pricing, it's up to the broadcasters, and sometimes I think people forget that.
Looking forward to Coley being out. It's signed like Martin Coley, good fighter there. What sort of fight can we expect to see him in first, and when?
Look, I've been speaking to Billy Nelson about Martin Coley for 6 months. Was so impressed with his performance against Tony Yoka. Thought he looked absolutely destructive. However, he's one of the most avoided heavyweight fighters in the division. So when he got to the top of the WBA rankings, and now that we believe we can push him into eliminators, final eliminators, world titles, gets very, very exciting. And we feel we're very strong in a lot of divisions, but the heavyweight division is something that takes a longer time. Most of the heavyweights have been contracted to the promoters for many, many years, and so coming in new, you look at those heavyweight opportunities. Martin Coley is a diamond in the rough, and finally he's got a platform and promoter that can push him. And he's not. We know, because on the circuit and from speaking to heavyweights, and you'll know as well, he's so avoided, and that's the testament of a great fighter, as we see with Adam Azim. And now he's in the ranking. He's got the backing, and he can hopefully achieve his dreams of fighting for a world title and winning world title.
Joe Parker, Martin Coley.
Because of where Martin is at, he wants the final eliminators and the world title. So that's the focus. He'll fight anyone, as Joseph Parker has shown with Joe Joyce. He will. But Martin Coley is at the top of the tree in the WBA, and we hope that he is going to get his opportunities.
And the final thing for me: any new signings on the horizon? Anything in the works?
There's a signing that we hope that we can make, or that we hope to announce in the next week or so. We've got to be careful, and I've said it, and people say, "Oh, Ben's signing too many fighters and this and that." Ben Whittaker to come back, Adam Azim, Fraser Clark, Lauren Price, Karis Hartingstall, Caroline Dubois, a lot of fighters that we're bringing through, and then the Lawrence Coleys and the cruiserweight setup, and Dan Aziz and Savannah Marshall, Tasha Jonas. Like this, we've got a lot of top quality fighters to deliver for. Our focus is on delivering for them. And obviously we have the eye out for truly special talents, but we're at the stage where it has to be really special for us to want to add to what we've got.
Any clue on the signing?
No.
And pleasure speaking to you. Thanks for speaking to SecondsOut. Much appreciated.